So, you just watched the Season 5 finale, the mid-season finale for Season 5 of Lucifer, Episode 8. We are going to talk about what the heck just happened, dive into all of the details, and that special appearance. But first, I have to give a spoiler warning. It's an ending explained video, so don't need to say much, but spoilers, absolutely. I wanted to introduce this video as, so you just saw God, but I decided I'd give the spoiler warning first. But yeah, guys, my goodness, that was just an incredible appearance from Dennis Haysbert. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start at kind of the end of Episode 7 going into Episode 8, what transpired and what leads us into the events here. And if you like these ending explained videos, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. I'd love to do more, and I would love to talk more Lucifer, man. This show is just awesome. So yes, let's start with Dan and what transpired with his conversations with Michael, telling him to go in and basically shoot Lucifer, and of course discovering that Lucifer is indeed the devil at the end of the episode. So a big portion of Episode 8 is kind of Dan dealing with that, trying to get past that, and then eventually assisting Lucifer on his quest to save Chloe. Now, that's the big mystery of this episode. We don't know what necessarily happened to Chloe, or at least our characters don't. Lucifer, and I love the emotion showcased on his face when he realizes that she has indeed been kidnapped. You can tell there is this love and affection for her, but can he come to terms with the fact that he loves her? And that is another big issue. So many subplots that we're dealing with in this episode, but I thought it all came together nicely, especially Chloe trying her best to get Lucifer to say that he loves her. And we all know that he does feel about as close as one can feel to love, but with where he spawns from, it has to be different, right? It has to be kind of realizing what this feeling actually is. Imagine the devil genuinely loving someone on the level that he does, and we all know that he does. It's just willing to admit that yourself. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's hit on Pete really quick. He's a nice, nerdy, slightly friendly guy. He's a reporter who suddenly catches on to a story of Lucifer and Chloe's cases, and that kind of leads him crossing paths with the CSI. And this had to be one of my favorite parts of this season, is kind of seeing their relationship, how nerdy they get going to the Star Trek conventions, and Ella finally meeting a guy that, feels like the male version of herself. And then we realize that he's just the worst. He's a murderer. And when she discovers that, fearing for her life, comes very close to losing it herself. And that was just, I know it was devastating for fans of these two characters and that relationship, even though there were minor hints throughout the season. But it was also devastating for Ella. I mean, seeing the guy, finally finding a guy that she feels this way about, just the worst. A great storyline, but in terms of his character turn, you jerk. So then about halfway through the episode, we discover that Michael, who's been pulling the strings all throughout the season, was indeed the one that kidnapped Chloe because he's trying to set certain things in motion. Now, we don't know exactly what his plans are yet, but we do know that one of his goals, and we figured this out towards the end of the episode, is to get Mazikeen to kind of buy in to what he's telling her. Saying, listen, Lucifer, even though he can't technically lie, he's always been steering you in the wrong direction, avoiding giving you what you truly deserve. And eventually, she does indeed kind of switch sides, even though she's been back and forth, obviously, for so long. And while I liked her turn, I do feel as if there could have been a bit more there. She switches sides extremely quick, and it makes sense because we do have that 2v2 battle at the end, but it was unfortunate seeing Mazikeen on Michael's side. So let's go back to Lucifer's progression really quick. Even after losing his mojo, he does put a lot of time into investigating this serial murder case from scratch. And so Maze says, okay, truce, we're going to find Chloe, but she does not hide how angry she actually is towards Lucifer. So they go about the investigation, and then we see that Chloe was indeed kidnapped by Michael. Now, Michael isn't physically hurting Chloe, but he is doing his best impression of what we conceive Lucifer to be in real life. He's kind of talking her out of her deep affection for Lucifer, allowing her to realize that, okay, I've said I love you multiple times, and he's never said it back. and he can't lie. So it's a great way for the filmmakers to kind of write that aspect in and bring their relationship down just a little bit after everything has been a bit more rosy in season 5. So Lucifer, with the help of Ella, finally finds the real killer. Then he finds out that the killer is not the one that kidnapped Chloe. So they're kind of left scratching their heads. Okay, where has Chloe gone? Who actually took her? And that's when Dan once again enters the picture. Of course, Dan being Dan, he's overreacting as always, and he's trying to get as far away from Lucifer as he can. Lucifer's like, listen, you need to chill out. Sure enough, like I said at the beginning, Michael is responsible for telling Dan these fabricated lies, and again realizes that Dan was being manipulated. And that's when everyone realizes, oh, well, I guess it should have been obvious. I mean, for me as a viewer, it was pretty obvious that she was indeed kidnapped by Michael. So that's when Maze, Dan, and Lucifer all go to rescue her, and it's pretty easy. I mean, she tries to knock out Lucifer, but other than that, it's pretty simple. So that's when we get the confrontation in the closet between Chloe and Lucifer, when both of the actors are doing a wonderful job of showcasing the proper emotion. Tears in their eyes, Chloe trying her best to find her words. Listen, I need to know. And she doesn't say it, but then he realizes what she's trying to say. Basically, do you love me? And Lucifer, stumbling, trying to find the right words, he almost gets it out, and then all of a sudden, time freezes, which is good. Probably saved him. He realized it was a bit more complicated than she was expecting, but yeah, time freezes, and Lucifer believes it's Amenadiel kind of doing what he does in slowing down time, except this time, time is frozen. Now, this could be from his stress dealing with the Charlie situation, realizing, and we've been getting subtle hints all throughout the last couple of episodes, this episode in particular, when Michael confronts Amenadiel and says, listen, he has a cold. You know what that means, right? And us, as an audience, we automatically assume, oh no, does that mean that he is indeed human? Amenadiel realizes this, and then sees Charlie frozen in time, realizes he is actually not a Celestial. Now, Lucifer, he doesn't care. He's like, listen, I'm trying to, let me get back to Chloe. I gotta tell her I love her, because I love her. So both of these guys are stressed out, and then in comes the worst person. Here comes Michael and his little scar on his face, and just a little ooh. So yeah, Michael messed with Chloe and Lucifer's relationship. He managed to have Amenadiel stop time, and then he promised Maze a soul whose fear has always been that she was going to be left alone. So all of these different promises and lies and just causing issues for all of our characters. Once time has stopped, we see Michael attempt to take on Lucifer and Amenadiel, who is outnumbered until Maze shows up. So like I said earlier, 2v2, you have one of the most epic battles we have ever seen. Celestial v Celestial in the Lucifer universe. This fight scene was awesome. The sound effects, the camera movements, the punches thrown, the acting on all accounts, the fact that Tom Ellis is playing two different characters, but it feels like he is there in both places. It was just fantastic. Even though, again, this isn't the season finale, it felt like a finale in the best way possible. But the only issue here is we didn't quite get a resolve. We're left on a cliffhanger because in comes the big man himself. It's Daddy, it's Father, it is God. Played hilariously enough by Dennis Haysbert, who has essentially the voice of what you would expect God to have. A really good actor, also the Allstate guy. I expected him to say, "Are you in good hands?" Which they would be, because he's God.
Are you in good hands?
So we're left kind of scratching our head asking ourselves these questions. Did Michael do all of this for God to come down and kind of stop their silly little fight? We do hear Amenadiel say that the Silver City has changed and Michael is the one by his father's side. So is God being there part of Michael's master plan? And my answer to that is most likely yes. It seems like he is, even though he may not seem like it on the outside, this master schemer who did all of this, caused all of this conflict for Dad to show up. Now, in turn, we ask ourselves, what is he trying to prove? Or what is his master plan here? Is he trying to bring down Lucifer not only for kind of abandoning his reign in hell, but also because of striking these relationships on Earth? Or is there something a bit more sinister at play? Could we see characters from the past return in the second half of this season? All we know now is that God has arrived, something that fans have been wanting to see for quite a long time. My questions for you all are, were you expecting God to show up? I mean, we knew that Dennis Haysbert was cast as God if you've been paying attention, but still, for fans that weren't expecting that scene, that moment, it had to be something spectacular, and this has to be one of the better finales that we've seen from Lucifer, even though, again, it's not a season finale. So what do you all expect from the next batch of episodes? As of right now, I believe those are intended to drop maybe early 2021, but I will keep you guys updated on Lucifer. So if you want to subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell. I will let you know, A, when everything drops on Netflix, I'm reviewing every single show and movie, and B, more Lucifer news as soon as we find out. I appreciate you all for watching. Again, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that thumbs up button, and it's going to be a long wait for the rest of Season 5.